Hey, this is Dave Pryor. Welcome to the Reluctant Agilist. I have a very, very special guest today. Ricardo Vargas is here. Ricardo, thank you for making time for this.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a really a pleasure to meet you. Okay, and doing this, so it's really an honor for me to have the
Yeah,
opportunity to talk to you.
we haven't seen each other in person in a very long time, but we are connected through PMI. Um, would you mind explaining to the people, just in case they're not familiar with your name,
Okay.
what you do? Because you do so many things now. I can't just say like you're the chair. There's so much that you do.
No, that's perfect. Okay, so I'm Ricardo Vargas. I'm originally from Brazil. I live now for the past 12 years in Europe. I lived in Denmark and now I live in Portugal. My history with project management goes back to early 90s when Microsoft released the Microsoft project. And at that time, I was a reseller in Brazil and a student of chemical engineering. This is how I got into the field because Microsoft didn't have anyone at that time to explain what critical path was and this. And I was a student, so I started, I would say, through I don't know, maybe the wrong door without like learning the software before the technique, and then I get to know PMI, and then everything started. So I was the founder of PMI in Brazil, in Minas Gerais chapter, then regional mentor, then board of directors of PMI, then chairman of PMI. Last year, I became fellow of PMI. So I have a long history with PMI. I had the chance to write 16 books on project management. I have a podcast that exactly today, the day we are recording this, reached 12 million views, combined views
Wow.
in this 15 years. So it's a very nice. So and I was the director for the UN, United Nations Office for Project Services, taking care of humanitarian projects. This is why I lived in Denmark for 5 years, and
Okay.
I envisioned and created the Brightline Initiative to help senior executives to understand what project management is about. Okay, and I'm completely
Ah.
passionate about what I do.
All right, I didn't know that you were behind Brightline. Well, that gives me like a whole nother range of questions to ask about the article. So I reached out to Ricardo because there was an article that came through in my email about how AI will transform project management, and I get emails from Harvard Business Review like every day, and I like glance at them, and I saw your name. I was like, oh my god, I have to go read this, and it filled my head with questions. Um,
Yeah, it,
so do
it
you
feels mine
mind if
too. It's not only yours. It's not because I wrote the article, but I need to tell you, I was very surprised because Antonio Nieto and I we worked together on this article,
Mhm.
and Harvard Business Review accepted to publish it, and it became on the most popular list on HBR articles globally. And I don't know, but for a topic like project management, this is quite a thing because
Yeah.
it's not very common for you to see an article on HBR about project management. So we were very very happy with that.
All right. And as if project managers didn't have enough to be scared about in terms of their jobs evaporating, now we get to worry about Chat GPT coming and taking our work away.
Yes and no. if
Okay.
if you think with the mindset
Yeah.
of the traditional project, the traditional reporting, preparing this, then you should be worried. Then you should be
Okay.
worried. But if you understand that, as many other things, the profession has changed and has
Yeah.
evolved, and that project manager is today, I would say, the conductor of a team aiming to deliver the results, then ChatGPT is not able to do that yet. Okay, so
Right.
what I'm telling is that the traditional role of project management, like the ones behind, a Microsoft project, moving bars, and this, I truly believe that artificial intelligence will do this work in a
Which
very nice way, and you will be able to decide, you will be able to motivate, and all these soft and adaptive skills that required today for the project manager. This is why I'm saying it's just a different thing. It's
Yeah.
just a different thing. But I
All
don't
right.
see. I see a universe of opportunities for those open uh, to
Okay.
learn and to develop.
So I'd like to come back to the soft skills in a minute, but I want to focus in on two things in the article in the beginning. So there's a part in the article where you talk about um, artificial intelligence providing notifications about things that are coming up, risks or whatever, and that would have to be set up by somebody who understands more than just like I have machines that can go figure out when people are overutilized or whatever, but thresholds, understanding capacity, like where you want to set those triggers, that's still going to be the work of the project manager, right?
It depends. Let me
Okay.
just explain this better. What we are saying is that all the collection of information of
Mhm.
previous projects, because let's just go back one step, because many people do not know what artificial intelligence is about.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence is a model based on algorithms that try that are aiming to mimic human thinking,
Yeah.
mimicking the way we think. How do we decide that a risk is a risk? How do we decide that this risk is a high risk or a low risk? How do we do that?
Right.
AI aims to use algorithms to simulate that, like
Okay.
ChatGTP on the writing, making a sentence that looks like a human writing and not like a robot
Right.
writing. So, having said that, when I talk about this prediction, is that AI filled with all external information, all
Hmm.
external. Imagine that AI is able to check the weather forecast, that is able to check the stock market, that is able to check everything and check everything that is happening online in your
Right.
project site, and combine all this huge amount of data and say, take out your team from the site tomorrow because a hurricane, there is a high probability it will hit your site and you need to do it now, and do it
Okay.
automatically. And how these work like an algorithm. It's like you looking the weather forecast and doing this
Yeah.
and making this. And of course, I'm saying this is a learning algorithm. This is why
Yeah.
we every time we talk about AI, we need to talk about learning. They have supervised and unsupervised learning. So the algorithm needs to learn what is a risk, how to play the risks. And what
Okay.
happens, Dave, over time, this learning will be really strong. And
Okay.
why? Because there is a different thing. It's that a machine can capture billions of data at the same time and combine all of them in a lightning speed. And
Yeah.
this is what we are seeing today in many
Okay.
of these predictions using AI.
So I want to offer two different scenarios, and after I offer them both, you tell me how close you think we are to something being able to do this.
Okay.
So one, I've been in a lot of debates lately about the difference between like flow metrics and story points. I can see where a system could be instrumented from the outset, right, to track from an idea happening until we give something to a customer, track work through all the different states, and then if an executive wants to know when will this thing be done, the system could just look at all the flow metrics and be able to instantly tell you there's an 80% chance the work will be completed by this date. But you also say in the article, there's a part where you talk about the system recommending that the team switch over to Agile, which I see like a realm of complication that a system probably wouldn't be able to cope with, like if the organization is laden with technical debt and things like that. But do you think at some point the system would be able to say, your organization is undergoing so much change right now that to introduce a new change is going to break the back of it? Like a
Okay.
threshold for how much complexity it can hold at one time.
Good. So let me try to split. On the
Yep.
first part about the
Yep.
80% you said, I think this is a future that is very close to us. Okay,
Okay.
I'm talking that some companies already have that. The only challenge that I would say not all companies have that, it's because they just don't have data. You know,
Right. They're not
one thing,
capturing it. Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You cannot put an AI and say, okay, tell me a little bit about the history of your project, and say, oh, there is no history. And
Yeah.
then
You get nothing.
what would you do?
Right.
Okay, so this is the first thing. So I would say, technologically speaking, it's
Hmm.
very, very close. The second one about uh, AI giving more robust and more serious and more profound answers. My answer is that we are on the way to that. And
Okay.
it means that this, I don't believe this is something for 1 year or for 2 years, but I would doubt this will take more than 5 years. I think in
Wow.
5 years, we will have, I would say, a good. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
maybe AI will be able to sort out nuclear power plants and this, but I'm saying the vast majority of normal troubles in the projects
Hmm.
would be massively helped by AI.
Okay.
I'm not saying all, but
Yeah.
many of them.
Okay. So if this job of project management is evolving, like one of the things when people ask me, like, what should I be studying now? I always recommend things like organizational change, because that seems to be, whether you're switching from waterfall to agile or whatever to whatever, how you introduce that to the company, how you help them cope emotionally as well as process wise with the change is one of the biggest burdens. But these two things could collide.
Yeah,
Do you agree?
I agree. I think one of the biggest challenges, and I think I'm talking about that all the time. It's the problem is that technology is
Hmm.
evolving at a pace that uh, our our culture, our moral compass,
Hmm.
our ability to adapt cannot follow. We
Yeah.
are always playing catch up. And this, I think, it's something we need to develop. For example, what I tell my daughters, my two daughters, I have a 23 and a 19-year-old daughters, and I tell them that the biggest asset you need to have today is your ability to adapt. Because ability to adapt, it's ability to be fluid.
Hmm.
To use agile, but to use technology, but also to do things by hand and to adapt, because whatever the world takes you, you are able to make your living and to make a difference and to make an impact. Because I don't have a crystal ball here to
Right.
say this is what the future will look like. And honestly, just to give you an idea here in my head, this I'm doing, I'm studying corporate governance, and I have an
Okay.
exam next week. So I am 50 years old. I have, I would say, a quite good life. I would say in physical terms and economic terms. But I don't think I'm comfortable. I'm always thinking, uh, things may change. I need to be prepared. I need to
Yeah.
get ready. And this is how organization, because if you have this mindset, you can revisit. Because, Dave, you and I, we were raised at PMI
Hmm.
thinking
Yeah.
that success was on time, on budget, on scope, and nothing else.
Right.
Even if you produce a completely pointless product, if you
It's
deliver
done.
on time, on budget,
Yeah.
you
All
did
good.
great.
Yep.
Today, if you talk this in an organization, they will laugh on you. They will say, "You,
Yeah.
this is a joke." So it changed the concept of what a project is. We're talking now about benefits. We're talking about value. The whole agile process is, how do you anticipate benefits?
Yeah.
So it changed. So what we need to be able to change that. Okay, to
Okay.
change and to evolve. I truly believe that our profession, my view is that our profession will be core of the organizations, because everything in the corporate
Really?
level will be projects.
Wow.
Everything,
Okay.
everything. Uh, what is not a project will be
Well,
just done by machines.
that's a really unique position to take when so many companies are switching over to a productized approach to work.
Yeah, but this is okay. Now let me. This for me is just the trend of the day. How you
Okay.
want to call it. If you want to call product because people don't like the word project,
Okay.
people think
All right.
project.
I got it.
No,
You're talking about groups of people producing a thing.
Dave. For me, let me
Yeah.
define what a project is. Is everything you do to transform an idea into reality.
Okay.
If you have an idea, a piece of paper, and you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to transform it in a book or transform it in a house, this is a project. How you do it? You may do it using Agile, Kanban,
Right.
doing nothing, okay? Doing go horse, or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a project. So if you develop a product, renew a product, reinvent a product, change a product,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
it
all a
doesn't matter
project.
how you want to call it.
Okay. All right. So let's say that I don't know what your daughters are doing professionally. We know if they're in school or out of school, but let's say that they wanted to become project managers. You referenced the stuff that we learned when we came up and how it's different now. What does somebody who's entering this field now need that we didn't get, either through the traditional stuff or the addition of things like Agile? Like, what are the missing pieces?
Yeah, I think one of the missing pieces that we didn't get, and now it's changing, new generations are getting, is the concept and the value of soft skills. And soft
Okay.
skills, because most of the project managers, I don't, it's changing, but most of them, they come
Yeah.
from a technical background. I would say engineers, IT, and for example, I did my degree, master, and PhD in engineering.
Okay.
And I didn't have a single class of human and how to motivate, how to lead with people.
Right.
All this what my professors at that time, they say these fluffy things.
But that's the dark art that made some project managers better than others, was
Yeah,
if you studied emotional intelligence and all that stuff.
absolutely. And now I spend 99% of my time trying to solve this, trying to make people work, make people work together, make people
Yeah.
don't feel afraid about the change, make people don't leave the company at the time I need them most, uh,
Okay.
stop conflict, agree with the supplier, talk to people. I spend most of my time trying to convince people, and this is human, and this ability is at the center of my competence. And the problem is that, Dave, this ability is not
Right.
something that we can teach in a course. I'll do an online
Yeah.
course of motivation and you'll be motivated. It
Done.
would be nice, but it doesn't. It doesn't. And this is why, going to the answer of my question, this is
Yeah.
why I tell my two daughters all the time they need to get exposure.
Okay.
Exposure to projects. The best way to learn project management is, of course, to study, but it's to get the exposure. It's to
Yeah.
sit on the table when everything is, on fire, and you say, how do we get out of that? How
Yes.
do we get out of that? And then you
Yeah.
learn. Then you learn. And then over time, you become much more senior on handling this. It's not just about theory.
Okay. This was great. I really appreciate you making time for this. Um, is there anything you left out of the article? This will be the last question, but anything you left out of the article that you think people should know about what's coming with the future of AI and things like ChatGPT and how it's going to affect our profession?
Yeah, yes. And this is something that probably we will write in the future, okay? Like
Okay.
a second part is that when AI, augmented reality,
Hmm.
and robotics,
Okay.
and quantum computing, when these four things are mature enough to be combined.
Okay.
And then it's a true disruption,
Completely
because
different.
then I don't know how to say that, but then it's the era of cyborg. You know, the cyborg, because you will have a robot based on quantum computing, with absolutely a speed that is
Unimaginable
unbeatable,
right now.
using AI data and augmented reality, being able to see and identify things and interact in a different way. And then I don't know when this becomes a reality. And this can be a really, really big change. And this, I would say, an airplane without a pilot,
Yeah.
and doing perfectly. And a doctor, and you having a surgeon that is a cyborg. Then I don't know the human implications of that. But when these things become mature enough to do that, and it's incredible, because I like this topic for a long time. And when I saw, for example, the deep mind, the AlphaGo, and the Go game, and the chess
Yeah.
game, it's just incredible what they did. They just moved the bar to another level.
Yeah.
ChatGPT now. So think about you using ChatGPT 10 years ago. You said it never happens. That
Yeah.
a
That
software
it would be good enough. Yeah.
could write a code. Imagine, could write a code. So this, I would say, was the missing piece. But why I didn't put in this article, because I need to see more, to see what would be my
Yeah.
perspectives on that, because I don't know yet.
All right. Well, what if people want to find out like all the stuff you're doing? If they want to pick up your books or see you, if you get a chance to see Ricardo speak, you should definitely go, because the fact that he's been able to contain himself in this little box is amazing to me. Because I tried to film him give a talk once, and I couldn't move the camera fast enough. You're a very energetic person. What if they want to see you speak in person?
Yeah, no, yeah, but look. First, thank you very much. I'm first. I love what I do. I would say I love, and this is something that for me it's so cool, to talk about project management and to do that. So I
Yeah.
was fortunate in life to have this. And second, I'm very used to talk on public, so I know exactly how I can move and what kind of movements I can do. But look,
Yeah.
I have a website. It's ricardo-vargas.com,
Okay.
where you can find the articles and everything I publish and all the work I do. Also, I'm very easy to find on social media. I have a nice YouTube channel, with a nice number of subscribers that follow me there. So I try to publish a lot. One of the key things for me is to share. So what I do, it's everything I learn, I want to share quickly, because I think this is the benefit. And they've many people ask me why I do this, right? Why this is important for me. And
Yeah.
I have a true belief that, you know, in life, we need to create a net positive outcome. It means,
Okay.
for example, what I extract from the society and what I put back to the society. So I want to finish my life knowing that I put a little bit more than what I
Then you took.
extracted.
All right.
And because some people, and it's sad to say that, but some people, they live their whole life just to suck
Yeah.
whatever they can, and this is not what I want. And this is why, for
Yeah.
example, every time I hear something, I know something, I want to share it. I want to
Cool.
share it, even if I change my mind later. No problem. At least
All
people
right.
will know.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to make sure to put a link to the article as well, so people can check that out. But it's great to catch up with you, and I really appreciate you making time for this.
But thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to see you. Okay. Thank
Thanks.
you.
You too. See ya.
If you learn to work the old way, but the new way is what you need, my job's to